Okay, then we will move into item C, which is approval of the 2011-12 school year budget.
I'm so frantically typing here, so let's just take me 1 second here.
We should have talked more.
We're great. What color is it?
Yeah, I don't know, it doesn't say.
I'm guessing white, that's my guess. Probably.
Stainless steel.
I'm thinking
Stainless steel, that must be easier to read.
Why don't, yeah, that would probably be easier.
Stainless steel front sides, Judy.
Okay. Thank you. I was just giving you a little more time.
I know. What can I do to help you?
I think I'm okay. Last month we presented the initial 2011-12 budget, and there were some minor adjustments to that, not to the actual total revenues and expenditures, but to a few minor areas in the budget. But I think tonight what we're going to do is just focus on where we're at right now with the total dollar amounts that we're given and we're able to use, unless you have some specific questions regarding some of those other budgets, and we'll just run through them too very briefly. But I'd just like to try to start with the big picture here, and just basically start off this discussion. Typically what I want to be able to show people is that we're starting out with a balanced budget for the most part. In Fund 10, our total revenues are $31,059,186, and you can see that our total expenses equal that same amount. So you're going to go through these documents and you should be able to correlate that number with the fund grand totals as you're looking at some of the other documents here. You can see then that revenues without grants is $30,005,610, and then Fund 10 revenues with grants only is $1,053,576. Fund 27 revenues equal expenditures, and that's our typically special education dollars there. And then you can see we're receiving grants of $647,609. And then you can see that the district without the grants portion is $4,202,970. And then in Fund 38 and 39, typically we levy on the calendar year and we pay on the school year, which is July 1 through June 30th. And when we levy, again, that's on the calendar year, which is January 1 through December. Through the end of December there, so there can be discrepancies between revenues and expenditures. So you can see that there's a difference there of $22,463 that we'll have to dip into the fund balance. And our fund balance, as we'll take a look at it a little bit later, is approximately $390,000. So as we live out the term of our long-term debt here, we're no big we're not going to go exceed our fund balance. We should have money there, and hopefully our goal would be able to actually apply that hopefully to the last payment. But that's kind of the starting point. I guess the next document then, as we take a look at that, is going to be a summary of the levy for the 11-12 school year, and then we'll start working back from that point forward, kind of changing it up from previous years. My mind works from big picture to little picture, so we'll try to start there. If we take a look at our 2011-12 local property tax, Fund 10 levy is $9,861,836. This is what we'll levy in Fund 10 only. We'll have additional funds of $198,020 in Fund 38, which is non-referendum approved debt, and this debt has been around probably since the early 90s. And then again, you're going to see total Fund 39, which is our long-term debt that is referendum approved, of $1,255,920 for a total property tax of $11,318,876. If we compare that with our property tax last year, which was $10,437,147, you'll see that that's an increase of $881,729, or an 8.45% increase. I need to tell people, this is just an estimate right now. We still have to, we should be pretty good here, but there are a few things that we have to, bridges we have to cross. One is a third Friday count. You know, Toma's a growing district, and right now, on the 3-year rolling average, we're looking at adding about 45 students. Okay, so where most districts are either at 0 or some are declining, we're picking up 45. So if you take $9,000 times 45 additional students, you can see that part of this increase is just due to those additional 45 students that we have there, and that's worth about $400,000. The next thing, when we're looking at our mill rate, we have to look at our equalized valuation. And right now, I'm anticipating, or hoping, I should say, that worst case scenario is no increase. Should we have an increase, that will have the net effect on the mill rate as dropping the mill rate a little bit. But if we have a decrease in our equalized values, that'll have the net impact of increasing the mill rate. So, yeah, best information. I've tried to talk to the city, did whatever research I can. You know that hopefully there might be a slight increase, but I'm not holding my breath on that. I would be very happy with no increase. I just would hate to see a decrease there. I know there are some school districts that are projecting a 2% decrease in equalized values, so that's out there. But we'll just have to wait and see. So when we look at the effect of the mill rate, we would have a mill rate of 0.00869,370, or that would be equivalent to about $869 on $100,000. And if you look at the very bottom, if you look at the tax impact on property, you would see for 2011-12 projected taxes on 100,000, you'd be looking at $869 per 100,000 versus in 10-11, you're looking at $801,065, or a net increase of approximately $67.72. And we do break that out on a per month basis. That's $5.64 increase per month, or 8.45%. And just to kind of give you a little bit of perspective that you can't see on this sheet here, but I'll try to pull that up real quick.
Mill rate comparables?
No, I'm Citizens Guide. No, I'm looking for
Public history.
already forgot what I was just looking at. Levy information. I believe that's on Citizens Guide. I won't spend a lot of time. If I don't find it.
You don't want this time.
Nope. But that will show us too. It's on that sheet. Yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time. So anyways, what I was just going to show you as we were taking a look at that, I'm not a good multitasker, that's one thing I'm finding out, was that, we've seen increases of, 7, I believe 8 and 10% within the last 10 years, so it's not something that we haven't seen. So, and if we take a look at the, and that's what Cindy was alluding to here, is the, boy, I got a lot of sheets open.
It's the last one, I think. There you go.
Treasurer's report. This way, then it's gonna.
There you go.
And you do have a copy of this complete sheet here. You can see 2010-11 and the impact and the increase there versus what we're having this year. And you can look over the past. In 2009, we had about a 7.6% increase, as well as in 2006, 8.35% increase, and then again in 2004, 10.57% increase. And we really can't have this conversation unless we kind of fully understand where we were and where we're coming from. So if you'd open up this next worksheet here, we've looked at this a couple different times, but I've updated it a little bit to kind of give us an idea where we came from to get to this point. If we take a look at the yellow highlighted area, this is 2011-12 as proposed by the Joint Finance Committee that the governor has approved in his budget. We had equalized values again, percentage change there. We're looking at no increase from the previous year. When we take a look at our revenue limit, you're seeing a decrease of about $1.2 million there. I'm specifically looking at column J from 2010 and 11. The big number, though, is an equalized aid. We had about a 10% reduction on state aid, and I have a handout that I didn't put in here, but you can see all the district handouts, and there were probably 80% of the school districts in the state of Wisconsin had a 10% reduction in their state aid. I was hoping with the various factors that we had in the district that we would not be one of those. I was actually hoping for closer to 8% decrease in state aid, but we ended up with a 10% reduction. So you can take a look at the other numbers there, but really what is hurting us right now, or I shouldn't say, yeah, it is hurting us, I guess, increasing our levy is really the combination of the loss of state aid along with 45 additional students. That is forcing us to have that 8.45% increase. We still would have had an increase, and primarily because we are a growing district, but having said that, those two things kind of pushed it up a little bit more than typically I think we would have seen in past years. Do you have any questions up to this point? I mean, this is really I think we spent some time last month looking at our revenues and expenditures. Again, there's been some tweaks in the revenues and expenditures, but I wouldn't be able to point them out, and you would not be able to find them. They're just from finally running this through our computer program and getting the numbers settled. So, but again, the revenues and expenditures, the totals have not changed. There's just been some minor budget adjustments from what you saw this month between last month in all the areas. But really, again, what I wanted to spend the time or give you the opportunity to ask questions, if you had any, was on where we're at with the levy and what we'll be bringing to the annual meeting if you approve that tonight. And again, if you take a look at just the 31 million on the fund grand totals there, you have 31,059,186. You can see the increases and decreases. I'm going to go back to that because I think this is significant too. And again, I'll try to move along here if I can find it now. Revenue limit summary. No, that's not what I was looking for. Grand totals. So I want to pull up another sheet too, just to give you an idea, again, where we started and where we're at, and give the public an idea. In the big scheme of things, as we take a look at the Fund 10, last year we had a total budget of $32,354,018. Our budget we're taking to the annual meeting is $31,059,186. So we've decreased in the budget $1.3 million, approximately $1.3 million. Now that just tells really half of the picture of what was cut, because when you take a look at this budget and you start looking at this sheet, you're going to see some sizable increases here in district-wide programs. You're going to see increases in the area of maintenance, and when we're taking a look at those dollars are really taking away from what we initially anticipated as a $2.1 million reduction, or they added some dollars back. So if we take a look at, boy, remind me never to open them all at once because you can't find them when you're looking at that screen. If we take a look at this screen, this is what we've really worked off of for the last 3 months. We had Tier 1 reductions, we had Tier 2 reductions, And we also had some Tier 3 reductions that were, in the end, not eliminated through the discussions that you had through that board forum with the public and through the discussions that you had as board members. You can see our two Tier 1 total reductions equaled $823,432. Now, you did have an addition, and that's the difference between moving hiring a new high school principal and moving that principal to the elementary principal position. There's a difference of, or an increase in cost of $25,000. And then when you look at the Tier 2 reductions, again, we had $405,677. And this is probably the difficult part of the process of cutting for the board, I think, when you go through and you think about this. We talked about the Title I reading here. We talked about, specifically there in yellow, their middle school aides and EEN aid, the idea of athletic fees, which we did not end up implementing at that point in time, and the difficulty you had with eliminating the former remedial reading positions. So then you can see on the Tier 2 additions, again, we added 3 EEN staff members to give us more flexibility in dealing with some of the behavior issues, so that staff would have more, hopefully, time to deal and be able to actually teach in the classrooms rather than dealing with some of those behavior issues. We're still looking at the potential of adding a 4K teacher at halftime. We're not sure where that's at, but we wanted to make sure we had that in the budget. And we eliminated an RKLC position, but we're looking at bringing that back as a substitute because we need that position here in the district. And then again, through some conversation here, here are some Tier 3 positions that were not eliminated. So then finally, when we come down and look at this in total, I think if you remember back at the beginning of the year, we actually needed total reductions of about $2.1 million, and that was based on increased costs in different areas and then also the loss of some federal funding. So how did we make that up? Obviously, through the cuts and the additions, we had about $913,000 total in reductions and additions that we were able to eliminate. We had to add back, and that has since changed, and that's why this has changed. The budget has changed from the beginning to the end here. But in additional salary and fringes, we were able to allow teachers to get their lane movement. So if they take credits, they're able to move on the lane that way. And we also have a contract with our support staff that will be in effect for another year, so we had to honor that contract, so we needed to put some extra funds away for that. We received $570,000 from the federal jobs bill, and then total reductions in salary and fringe from administrators and teachers through the reduction in the contribution of a minimum of 12.6% from each employee, and the health insurance side of things. And I should say, most of the health insurance, really the savings came from the administration and the central office staff, because probably at least 80% of our teachers were already contributing 10% to their health insurance prior to even this proposal coming out from the governor's office. And then, of course, the rest of that is made up through the contract extension we had with the Teachers Association and what we asked administration and central office, and that's paying for 1/2 of the employees' portion of the the retirement system, the Wisconsin retirement system. So in a sense, you had total reductions on the table of about $2.3 million. You needed 2.1 reductions in order to make the budget work. So that would suggest you had about $233,000 in difference between the two that we can maybe add back. But in reality, we had some pretty good increases in open enrollment. We can take a look at that on the non-salary side thing. I think is the other area that we should just take a little bit of time so you can see where a lot of these increases actually came from. We reduced building budgets by 25%. You can see that on the top here. That includes the high school, middle school, and elementaries, and athletics. Transportation is down $160,000. And I'll have to look at that, but then you're seeing district-wide programs, $464,785. We'll take a look at that a little bit closer as you scroll down. Overall, alternative school is down $6,171. Now this is just non-salary. This doesn't include the salary side of things. Administration, collectively, it's down $31,112. And this is primarily due to savings on interest on short-term debt. I've been hoping to see interest rates go back up, not necessarily for that we want to pay more interest, but I think in the scheme of things, if we could have got into our old borrowing programs that we had used in past years, there would have been an opportunity to actually make some money, but with the rates so low, there's not that opportunity now. But then again, as you see in workers' comp, we saved about $17,051 on our anticipated premium for next year. Transportation, we had a $160,000 increase, and this is primarily due to a decrease of $220,000 in non-capital equipment for buses. And if you remember, I believe it was at the May board meeting, we approved the replacement of the roof at Lemon Wire. And the way we made that happen, we purchased 2 buses at the end of last year in May, and then what we decided at that point in time, instead of expending those funds on the roof, because it's very difficult to get that roof completed in that year, and it's important for the district to, in order to maximize its state aid, to get those expenditures made, we chose to purchase 2 buses out of this year's budget, and then to put that $220,000, which you'll see here, into the construction fund, so that we can pay for that roof when that roof is completed, without depleting our construction budget for next year. And operations, slight decrease here, and this is primarily due to hopefully some cost-saving things we're trying to do. Maintenance actually went up $32,000, but this is most of this is because of our refuse now that we're contracting that out. Although we're saving money on the salary and fringe side of things, that will clearly offset the cost of the refuse in general, we still have to put in non-salary the cost of taking that refuse away. And then when we take a look at district-wide programs, transfer to special education, salary and fringes is up $225,163. And this is primarily because a lot of our teaching assistants last year were paid out of ARA funds. Those dollars are no longer available, so those funds needed to go back in Fund 27, so that's why you're seeing the increase in that area. And then there's one more area here, open enrollment for $274,000, or actually $275,000, is a significant increase. I'm again hoping that number will go down. It won't go up anymore, but it's just going to have to wait till the 3rd Friday to see how much it actually goes down, see where those students actually end up. So I think that kind of gives you an idea where we're at in these various accounts. Other than that, there should not be any really significant changes. Just looking for that construction that I think I went by. And again, property services and construction, although we had $518,000 in there, it's only showing it's actually an increase of $51,866. I think if you remember at last month's meeting, we had budgeted $350,000, and the difference was where we had originally budgeted that money for 2 buses. Now we've moved that into the construction fund here. In the last area, and I'll let you sort this out because I'm not sure unless I spend a lot of time, and I think I've hopefully highlighted where those changes are on that sheet about the reductions and additions are the changes in staff and overall staff salaries. Overall in Fund 10 you had a $949,000 reduction in our salary and fringes, and if we look at Fund 27, again we had an increase, I don't know what that's doing, had an increase of approximately $197,710, and again That was from that loss of ARA funding where we had to add staff back to it. So the grand total is between Fund 27 and Fund 10, a total reduction in salaries of $751,546. So you really have to take the reduction sheet, the non-salary and the salary to kind of get a picture of what we've actually done, because we've had some significant increase in costs in the area in non-salaries. So, and then, you know, we might have reduced 3 remedial positions, but then we added 3 positions. So there's a lot going on here. I hope that explains why we're going to... No?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
There's a lot there. It's just complicated.
Yeah, there is a lot. And again, what my main focus tonight was really to look at the levy summary sheet here. Because I think in the end, this is what our folks in the district are most concerned about. One is offering a quality education, but then looking at that and making sure we're doing that at as fiscally responsible as we can given the circumstances. And if we were, just to throw this out here, if we looked at that revenue limit summary, I think I have a note on there. I don't think you're going to be able to see it on it. But if we were to try to get that levy and keep it at $8.01 as it was last year, you would need to cut another $800,000 out of the budget to make that happen. And if you remember how difficult it was in the Tier 2 reductions, it would be even worse. And at that point in time, given where we're at, I don't know that you would be looking at staffing reductions anymore. We're far past the point where we could probably, you know, lay anybody off at this time according to the contract. So you would be looking at reducing other areas for 1 year and then going back next year, not only eliminating that $800,000 to replace what other areas in the budget that you eliminated this year, but then also backfilling that $570,000 in federal jobs bill money on top of any other fixed costs where we see increases in. So we're by no means out of the woods. This process is just getting started. I mean, we'll get this year, I think we're presenting as good a budget as we possibly can, given the circumstances, but there will be a lot of work that we're going to have to do next year again. Because again, we know, regardless of all this, $570,000 in federal jobs bill money will not be available to us next year. And you know all the work that you've done up to this point.
So Greg, for several months we were working off of this budget reduction sheet with all the painful items on it, and there was always a number of total reductions needed. And the one we have right now, it's at $2,076,000.
Yep.
Yeah. And so that number incorporates all of the loss of different fundings, the ARA funding, plus what we have just recently found out about the state aid that we...
The 10% reduction.
That reduction, that number, you came up with that number before we found out.
2.1?
Yes.
Well,
right.
There's really no correlation between the loss of 10% in state aid and the total revenue limit dollars we have available to spend. Revenue limit is based on a 3-year rolling average of the number of students you have in the district times a per dollar per pupil amount. So you take one times the other, that gives you your revenue limit. State aid, again, or I should say taxes equal revenue limit minus state aid. That's in its very simplest form. So goes our state aid, so goes our property tax to a certain degree. Now the hope, as we were, and I think what the governor was trying to accomplish is that the reductions in the revenue limit would reduce the reductions in state aid. And in many districts, and as I'm reading, that may very well be, but We have a contract with our support staff that runs another year, so we should see some savings from that support staff contract on Wisconsin retirement system. Now, I can tell you those folks are already paying more than 12.6% of their health insurance. Actually, it's closer to, I believe, 17.5%. So, you know, they're already a long ways down the road, or a lot further down the road with their health insurance. So, got a ways to go. And again, that state aid, you know, we're a highly aided district. We get aided somewhere between 65 and 70%. So a 10% aid reduction for a highly aided district, dollar-wise, is going to be a lot more than a district that's aided at about 50% or 40%. So the effects of that 10% on our levy are going to be a little bit higher than they would be on a district that's maybe aided at a little bit lower level. So, and you have districts aided anywhere from the very minimal, that's around probably 5 or 10%, to those of us that are aided at anywhere from that 65 to 80% range. And we are one of the highest aided, have been in the past, one of the highest aided districts in the state of Wisconsin.
And that's why that 10% cut affects us so much more.
Yeah. And then you start throwing in the different factors again, you know, the increase in students. You know, had we not had those 45 additional students, you probably could reduce that increase by $400,000. But then if you don't have the expenditures for those additional 45 students, then next year your state aid is also going to get reduced. So there's a lot that kind of plays together in this.
Well, I guess the bottom line is that essentially we came out pretty close with the plan, really.
Yeah,
Except for the 10% cut us off a little more from...
You know, other than the 10%, we're hoping at 8%, you know, I guess we were pretty close on everything else.
So this evening we need to decide if this is the budget we want to take forward to the annual meeting,
Yep.
August 8th. And I guess we'll go from there.
I need to say something, Madam President. You know, before Greg says, are there any questions, I just got a statement to make, and that being on this board for quite some time and the issues that we've had to deal with over the years, I believe this Governor Walker thing has been really a test for us. And Greg, I think I can say this for all the board members, and indeed, if the people in this community don't know it, a deep appreciation for your efforts, and Cindy, because I know you guys go side by side during a daily basis, and the thing is how hard you've worked to keep us at a level that Toma is. If you remember back, we didn't lose anybody really for jobs, which is a major issue. Other districts that I read about and heard about are going through some tough times, and I feel for them, because this is not easy. And then, you know, Greg, you'll mention this is just the tip of the iceberg we got next year to deal with. And I'm not going to, you know, although I've been around here a long time, I'm not going to sail away and say, we'll see ya, deal with it, because I'm a member of that public too. But I think we all need to step back and appreciate the efforts that you two have made, and indeed the board members who work with you. I thank you for that. And we're going to charge on and do the best we can for next year. And
I I would
Thanks.
One other group I think that we need to thank is from our staff that
Oh, definitely.
have
Definitely.
really contributed probably the most. And if you take a look at it, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't inform you that on average, most staff members will see a net decrease on their paychecks of 10%.
Correct.
And, you know, many people might say, well, that happened to us 2 or 3 years ago. And, you know, I understand that, and we're sympathetic to those folks. 2 or 3 years ago are to our staff. I'm only one to acknowledge that, you know, those people are shouldering the burden of these cuts and are really making that sacrifice. And, you know, as will our support staff, next year we'll see the same thing. So I think, again, we need to at least acknowledge that. And I'm not saying good, bad, or indifferent. I'm just stating a fact. That's how we were able to balance a budget, and that was through the reduction on average of all of our staff members for central office administrators and our professional staff on average of 10% on their net paycheck. So that can be for some of them a substantial hit for them to try to make up for.
And I want to say not just monetarily, but also just in the working together and trying to find ways and ways that they feel they can streamline things and really cut in other ways besides just salary. They really hold together well.
It's been a team effort, for sure. I know it really hasn't been that easy. If you leave a board meeting at night and you think you're going to quit thinking about it, it stays with you till the next day and even on till the next meeting. And recently that's been tougher than it was some of the years that I've been on here, but you don't quit thinking about it.
Very true.
That's all the preachers got for tonight. Amen.
Okay, well, I guess, Greg, we're looking for approval then of the 2011-12 school year budget as we have presented it so far. And that would be easiest found off of our, do you have an amount for what we're at as far as the
Back to the sheets from here. Oops. Levy. Just a motion to approve the 2011-12 budget as presented to be brought forward to the annual meeting with a total proposed property tax levies for Fund 1038 and 39 of $11,318,876.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion then and a second to approve to bring forward our 2011-12 school year budget for $11,318,876 to our annual meeting. Any further discussion? We'll do a roll call vote.
John?
Yes.
Mary Ellen?
Yes.
Gary?
Yes.
Judy?
Yes.
Deb?
Yes.
And Pam?
Yes.
Thank you.